Hello, everybody. It's Cindy Ingram, and I am here just for a very quick episode to explain a new series I'm doing this summer, free series. And it is going to be over on YouTube or on Facebook, also on email. So it will not be posted on the podcast, but I wanted to make sure the podcast listeners were aware of what I was doing and those other platforms. So this July, which is starting today, July 3rd, every weekday, I will be posting a new work of art and talking about it. So it is called Art Around the World in 30 Days. It's a program I've done before. I did it back in 2014, my first year of having my website, and again in 2016. And this time I will be doing it just a slight bit differently. So instead of writing an email or a blog post each day, I will be creating a video where I talk about the work of art and share about it a little bit. And also we'll be focusing on contemporary art, and also we'll be focusing on art that has some personal connection opportunities as well. So instead of just focusing on how to teach it, although I will include how to teach it, I also have opportunities for you to consider how you can use this artwork to further your relationship with yourself. So you can sign up to get emails about the series over at artclasscurator.com/AATW, which stands for Art Around the World. If you don't remember, you can also check the link in this episode description. And what will happen is every weekday you will get an email that has a link to the video of the artwork. And yeah, I just am going to choose artworks that I've never shared before. So artworks that you've not heard on the podcast, artworks that you haven't seen blog posts about, artworks that are not in my Curated Connections library, all brand new artworks, all artworks that are kind of inspirational and connecting to me, and ones that I think that you will like, and ones that I think if you're a teacher, your students will like as well. And then I think that's it. That's all I really want to tell you. Oh, the giveaway. There's also a giveaway that you can win a free year membership to the Curated Connections library, which is my membership for art teachers that has lots and lots of lessons on individual works of art, how to teach them, PowerPoints, worksheets, and all the things. And that is one of the prizes. There's also 3 one-on-one coaching calls I'm giving away, and then also 2 packages of art supplies from Royal and Langnickel. They have generously agreed to supply that as a gift. And when you're engaging in this series, I really want to encourage you to look at the art for you first before you consider looking at it for your students. I think that's really, really very important. And then the videos will also be posted on Facebook, and they will also be posted on YouTube. So those links will be listed below as well, but make sure you sign up with your email, because that way you can get the reminders in your email when the new videos are live. And I'm going to go ahead and put the first video here as a podcast episode, since it's a little bit longer than the other ones are. You might hear some repeat things I already just said to you. The first one's a little bit longer because I share a story about how I connected with the artwork last week, and then I also introduced the series in a little bit more detail at the beginning of that video as well. So I'll go ahead and post that on here so you get a taste of what you're in for. And then you can, of course, since you're on the podcast, you won't be able to see the artwork, so you can head over to Facebook or YouTube to see the video, and I'll also link to the picture in the show notes that you can see the artwork as well. So enjoy. I hope you sign up to get the emails, and I hope you enjoy this summer of art. Hello, everybody. It's Cindy Ingram, and I am excited to introduce our brand new summer series, Art Around the World in 30 Days. And for every weekday in the month of July 2023, I will be introducing for you a brand new work of art. And I'm doing this to help me really connect in with art. I have spent the last month not really connecting much with art or art making, and I decided this would be a great way to connect me with, my purpose. And in the past, when I have done art around the world I did art around the world in 30 days, November 2014, almost 9 years ago. I was very specific about making sure everyone was a different part of the world. I did it again a few years later. It was July, but now I don't remember the year, 2016 maybe. I did art around the world in 21 days. And I did that then. It was art from across time and cultures. And then this time I'm really going to focus in on contemporary art. And I'm not going to be too specific about, I have 2 artworks from America or whatever. I am just going to be picking art that is compelling to me, artworks that are exciting to me, artworks that are new to me, because it's going to be things that I've never shared before, and it's going to be things that are really interesting to me right now, and things that I feel like are calling to me to share, calling to me to explore personally. And these, of course, will be easy to include in your classrooms as well if you're an art teacher. But even if you're not an art teacher, this is for everybody, because I'm picking artworks that I know that have ways to connect to them personally, ways that you can learn about yourself through art, find yourself in them, and be able to really connect with yourself through looking at art. Now, we also have a giveaway for this series. So every from now until July 27th, you can go to artclasscurator.com/AATW, which is Art Around the World, AATW. And then at the very bottom of that blog post is a giveaway. You can join my email list. You can visit my Facebook page, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow my Instagram. I think those are it. There might be another 1 or 2. You can share the series, all to be entered into several different prizes. The biggest prize is a membership in the Curated Connections library. So if you're a teacher, you can get a vast library of artwork lessons. So artworks that you can explore with your students, lessons from elementary all the way up to college that have ways of connecting to works of art. I'm also giving away 3 one-on-one coaching sessions. If you didn't know, I am certified as a coach, and I really enjoy it. Also, I'm pretty good at it. So we can work on something that you're dealing with in your life, allow yourself to get some clarity, an action plan, whatever it is. We'll spend some time with you talking about it. And then we also have some art supply sets from Royal and Langnickel brush. We're $30 each, and I'll have a couple of those to give away. So a lot of fun things to enter to win. And then the last thing I want to say is I really want to encourage you to look at this art for yourself. This is not just for art teachers. I will be including some sort of teaching ideas in this lesson, or in this video, but mostly this is for anybody. And when you connect with art, when you connect with what is exciting to you, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, when you know yourself better, when you're more authentically yourself, when you spend time really thinking about what makes you happy, thinking about your values, all of those things, that's going to make you a better teacher. It's going to make you easy to connect to your students. It will feed into your work that you do in the classroom. And you can also take these and use them in your classroom too. So one of the things that I noticed that there was a period in my business where I got too focused on the work that I was doing, and not focused on myself enough and my own connection to art. And I would visit an art museum, and I would, instead of looking at the art and enjoying it for me, enjoying what it does for me, I would think about how to teach it. I'd think about how to share it, or, how to tell other people how to teach it. And I lost that sort of personal connection I had with the art. And it's what has driven me this whole life. Right. So I want to remind you in this series, and I'm sure I'll say it a lot of times, is that really focus on what the art brings for you, then you can still think of your students, but think of yourself first. Okay. So let's look at our first work of art. I'm excited. I love this one. Okay, so I haven't visited an art museum in a couple months. I usually go every 2 weeks. I put on my calendar at least to go every 2 weeks. I don't always make it. And so I was feeling kind of like really, that's kind of why I started this series, to be honest, is to bring back sort of a connection to art after I've been feeling a little dry the last last month or two. And so I visited the Blanton Museum of Art in Austin, Texas last week. My daughter was at camp, and we stayed in a hotel. And so she went to camp during the day, and I just kind of got to explore and got to spend some nice quality alone time at the hotel as well, which was amazing. And then, but I saw this artwork and absolutely loved it. I will tell you the artist and the title was going to be under the video. So I guess I'm not sharing it, right? I like to share the information later. So we're not going to focus on that just yet. So let's look at this artwork. Okay, so this is at the Blanton. Sorry, the picture is a little bit crooked because this is my own personal picture. And this is huge. So you can see the floor there. So that figure is probably about life size. And so I'll tell you immediately why I was drawn to it. One, I was drawn to the color. I was drawn to the size. I was drawn to that contrast between something realistic and then abstract on the left. And then there's kind of a personal thing that I'll share with you here in a little bit once we've had some time to explore. So before I go into kind of sharing my thoughts and ideas about the artwork and what I noticed, I would love for you to pause this video and look at the artwork first. So I'm going to smile so that you will have my face smiling in your pause, and then pause it. And I want you to really look at it and take some time. Maybe you take some notes, maybe you draw it, maybe you, just write a poem about it, whatever you want to do. Just really spend some time looking at it, thinking about what you think it's about, thinking about the layers of meaning in here, really noticing all the details, and then also noticing if there's anything for you, any meaning or message that you can find for yourself. So do that first before you hear anything I have to say about it. So I'm going to smile while you pause. Okay, I've done that. And hopefully you have spent some time looking at art. You've explored this painting for yourself. And now I'm just going to kind of talk about it for a little bit of time. I love this move from realistic over on the right side of the painting, and how it gets more and more abstract over to the left. It's really interesting to me because we often read things from left to right. And so this idea of her moving to the right, kind of as we usually, read to the right, she's taking these steps forward. Her torso's pushed forward, her face is forward, she has this forward momentum, that she is moving forward. But we often read things, left to right. So that was pretty cool. But we're going to read it from right to left because that feels like the most natural thing to me right now. When we're looking at this, so we have a more realistic portrayal over on the right. We see a realistic figure, realistic clothing, a woman in a beautiful dress taking a step forward. She's in sort of a natural environment. But if we zoom in on it, and I'm going to try to do that, we can see that it's not fully realistic. There's a lot of paint drips, which is really cool. I'll share my thoughts on the paint drips, but I want you to think about what the paint drips might represent for you. And then as we move forward, we see her hair creates this vast form that goes all the way from her head over onto an entirely different canvas. And then it goes from sort of curls, black curls, and then it becomes something more and something greater and something bigger and something more expansive, filled with stuff. So if we were to zoom in kind of near the beginning, we can see she has these sort of white lines that go through. These remind me kind of like stars and constellations in a way, but how they're all connected. And then they all go out in different directions. And then it's almost like it's underneath. There's a lot of these kind of drips going forward, and it's like behind the hair almost. Now, this picture is not doing it justice, but this part of the painting was almost like a really clear like rip in the time space continuum where you could like see the stars coming through. This beautiful night sky within her hair. And I think that's probably what's making me think these are very like constellation star-like, because we've got that represented here. And then there's, the more you look at it, the more you see like if you look at right here, and almost like this shadowy figure, like it's a person. If we go down to the bottom, we can the more we look, the more maybe we can find some shapes and things, but it's really just a lot of abstract circles and patterns and things, colors. And then as we get to, I'm going to get back to zoom it all the way out. As we get over to the left, we can see that it becomes more like vertical, a lot of drips and a lot of just colored lines. And it made me think of this was like the way back past, and then up closer to her was like the present. And then you think about the hair growing, like this is the new growth. My hair never gets beyond the new growth, the growth, because I keep it so short. But like as you get along, like that hair that's at the very bottom is like the hair that was there. It shows the passage of time. So to me, it looks like it's back in the past. And then as we get all the way back, we get to this golden, like that is the picture. I feel like doesn't do it justice, and I'm not seeing it, in person again right now. But to me, it was very more like reminiscent of like the gold you'd see in like a Byzantine painting or something. Like it was very much like gold rather than yellow. So a lot of immediate connections that, the first connection I think that I thought of was the Black women in their hair, and that there is a lot of history in hair. There's a lot of social justice in hair. There's a lot of rules that the white supremacist patriarchy applies to Black people's hair. So there's a whole a whole connection there that I don't necessarily have personal connection to, but that I'm aware of, and that I have, I've heard people talk on. And then it reminded me there was a TV series on Hulu last year about Black women and their hair. It's called The Hair Stories, Stories of Black Women's Hair and Self-Acceptance. Wait, was that the full title? Or maybe it's just called The Hair Tales. Maybe The Hair Tales. I think it might be just called The Hair Tales. And the article that I have open has the tagline. But either of them, whatever, that exists, and it made me want to go watch that. It's a 6-episode docuseries, so that would be something definitely worth watching. There's a lot of books about it as well, but that, of course, that's what I immediately thought of. And then where I went next was, this was a really emotional artwork for me to look at, because I was in an emotional place last week. Okay, I've been in an emotional place for a couple months, 42 years I've been in an emotional place. But my current emotional place it was really interesting. I am writing a book that's coming out in the fall, and it's a memoir, and it's kind of my path to wholeness through art, and each chapter has a work of art in it. And so as you write a memoir, you have to relive your entire past and to write about it. And so it's been really, I don't know, dramatic is the best word I can say. Is like every single chapter, when I write it, I have to kind of relive it. And then I had to go back to therapy, because I'm like, oh, I've got so much I have to deal with. And then it's like then life just hands you something else to deal with about what you're writing about. It's like, it's just been a complete trip. But in the process of this, I've been looking, and I'm getting near the end. in the last round of edits before like the, like the proofreading over commas and things, or like the last round of edits. And it's coming, like it's going to be finished, and like by the end of July, I think my book might be completely finished. And so I'm at that space where I'm like, oh, people are going to read it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like all that stuff, really deeply personal stuff. I'm like, I'm going to put that out in the world. And I'm like, and then you look back at your whole life and you're like, it's all in there. And so it's been really weird. So anyway, going back to Austin last week was really interesting for me because that's where I went to college. I got my brand new UT sweatshirt. I picked it up last week. But that's where I went to college. And so I dropped my daughter off at camp on Monday, and then I decided to just drive around a little bit. And no, this was the same day. No, this was Tuesday. Monday I had meetings. So Tuesday, I dropped my daughter off at camp. It was like 8:00. And then I decided to just drive around. I like went by the old, where I used to work, which was the Austin Museum of Art, which doesn't exist anymore. It was now like a CVS or something where that used to be. And then, drove past the Capitol. Then I went through like UT campus, and I went to saw the art building and my old dorms. And I just kind of was driving around. But like the minute I got to UT campus, I just started crying. Like it's like not just tearing up, but like legitimately, it's like tears streaming down my face, crying. And so and it was really interesting because it's just seeing again. And I've been to campus since I left. It's not like the first time I went, but having just written about my journey, I was like, wow, there's a lot that has happened in the last 20 years from when I left there to now. And I did not have a great college experience. I was very, very, very anxious. There's a lot of shame, a lot of things you can read about in the book. It's not all sad stuff, but like I was not in a great place. And so while I was there, it was like I was seeing all the places, and I'm like, oh, I remember here where I almost had a panic attack. And I remember here when I was crying about this other thing. And I was seeing the places, like the physical places that I like so viscerally remembered seeing them again. And so I got weirdly emotional. Not weirdly. I mean, it's not, whatever. It's normal for me to get emotional. So then I went back to the hotel for a while, and then came back later to the museum because the museum wasn't open that early. And the museum didn't exist when I went to college. It was in the art building, the Blanton Museum was, but they built this whole new building after I left. So I got to go to that new building. Well, it's not new anymore. I guess it's been 15 or 20 years since they built it. So I was in a place of nostalgia. I was in a place of summarizing my growth of 20 years and recognizing where I was and where I am. And so when I saw this, that's what I saw in this painting. I saw a woman moving forward. She's got forward momentum. And through all the past 20 years of my life, I was moving forward. I was healing, and I was taking steps, and I was, getting through the layers of things that you need to address before you can get to the layers underneath. And then you get to the layer, it's like the healing process is layer after layer. And so I was kind of seeing big picture and small picture at the same time of my journey. And so when I saw this, that's kind of what I saw, is like this being the past, her past, all represented in her hair, and how the farther back you get, the more muddy it is, the more unclear it is, but it's still there. And like, it's still like the essence and the color of the past is still there in your body, and it's in her hair. It's still a memory. It's still like, I can still feel how I felt then if I really allow myself to. And so, but then as you get closer, it gets more detailed, it gets more vibrant, it gets more clear. I think I already said that. And then you see like this connection to infinity, and you see like the expanse. That's what I think of the space. Think of the expansiveness of the world and infinity. And then I see these sort of constellations of connections, like all the connections that she's made in her life, and all the things that she has done, and how they connect back to each other, and how one thing leads to another, and how this connects to that, and how like it really is you look back and you're like, oh, you see that thread that you couldn't see while you were in it because you're just kind of in the mess of it, right? And then you see in here like the shadowy figures and like the people in your past that you remember, but like that made an impact or maybe negatively or positively, or represented in here like this. I don't know if this is meant to be a shadowy figure, but to me it is such a shadowy figure. Like even right here, you can almost see a little like a figure. Like you can, and like even this almost looks like a face, like a profile. And there's a lot like of that mystery to be found in here. But at the same time, she's moving forward, that she's continuing to move. And then as she's moving forward, even the present is dripping. The present is dripping away and becoming the past. With every step forward, the present becomes the past. And so that's my experience of this painting. So it was probably an overly wordy exploration of what I felt while I looked at this. And it was really meaningful for me to spend some time in front of this. And I wish there was a bench because I just had foot surgery 2 weeks ago. And so I couldn't, and then this was one of the last things I saw. So I was at a point where my feet were like not wanting me to stand anymore, but I wish there was a bench. I would have sat in front of it for a lot longer than I did, but absolutely beautiful work of art. This is a really amazing artwork to explore for yourself, looking for the symbols in it. What do you see? Because I even see like the golden and the pat, like that's like, to me, that's like before she was born. Like that's like, if you are to tap into like a spiritual element, that maybe that's like the her place before she kind of came onto this planet. And then even you can get into the space there too, that like she contains the infinite in her. So really powerful. Like I think too, thinking about the symbols of like her walking barefoot, connecting to the earth, her look forward, all of that represented there. And then of course there's the socio-political interpretations and what it means to be a woman of color in our world, and how that is impacting. So these are all different things you can kind of consider and look at for yourself as you look at this work of art. This artwork is done by an artist, and I do not know how to pronounce her name. I did look it up. Wikipedia sometimes has like a thing. She has a Wikipedia page, but it didn't say how to pronounce her name. I guess I could have maybe gone to YouTube and see if I could have gone a deep dive. Maybe I would have eventually found it, but it is Mequitta Ahuja, and I don't know if that's exactly right. It could be Mequitta, but it's Mequitta is her first name. Last name is Ahuja. This was the title is Parade Diptych 2007. And I visited the artist website. I invite you to do the same. She does a lot of self-portraiture. And one of the things I really thought was interesting about her website is I read her artist statement. And she writes about how people of color, especially women of color, are expected to include their own identity in their artwork, that they're supposed to show their inner life, their personal experiences as fuel for their art. And I've talked about this before, and especially in that lesson I do, Judith Slang-Hofferny's, where we compare Caravaggio's version versus Gentileschi's version, and how we can see like Gentileschi's anger, and we can see her how she, the problem she had as a woman artist, like we can see that represented in her art, but we don't necessarily do that for white men. Like we don't look for their lives in the artwork as we do with others. So I'm going to read just a little piece of her artist statement because I think it is really insightful. So she says, "My mission is to challenge expectations of the self-portrait especially the self-portrait of a woman or a person of color. I show a woman of color articulating her own story and the story of painting. As a female artist of color, I have internalized the expectation that I should mine my personal experiences as case studies in the social conditions of race, class, and gender. I both accept and step beyond that expectation. I aim to hold and to embody in my work both politics of identity as well as the function of self-portraiture, exemplified by Poussin's 1650 self-portrait. She was a fan of Poussin, I think, that she talks about him later on. Displaying authority within the history and discipline of painting. So she's doing both. She's choosing to explore the concept of what a self-portrait is and push the limits of what a self-portrait is, while also incorporating her own experiences of life as a Black woman. She is mixed race. She is Black and South Asian heritage. I think India. It's a South Asian in one place and Indian in another place, but India is considered South Asia, is it not? So I think I just answered my own question. So she does a lot of self-portraits. She has a lot of her work on her website, mequittaahuja.com. And I invite you to explore her art. And how I would incorporate this in a classroom, I think there are it is so ripe for just a discussion when you look at this and all of the things that they're noticing. So you might, I would just open it up for discussion. They're going to talk about how it changes from realistic to abstract. They're going to notice the paint drips. They're going to look for of course, they're going to look for things in the hair, like the figures, and, they're going to find things in there. They're going to notice the space. They're going to notice the connection, like all of those things they're going to notice. And so as you explore, you can ask them, well, what do you think that means? Or, if they've noticed something about the paint dripping, like what could that represent, or what could the colors represent, or all of the things. So really open for a lot of discussion. I think that poems are big. I like to recommend poems, and I probably recommend it every day. I will do it. And it turns out it's because I like to write poems myself, and you will find poems in my upcoming book. So that was a whole journey accepting as well. So a poem about their hair. So like what their hair says about them. You could even incorporate an artwork about hair, or like something to do with their hair. Maybe it's a self-portrait with their hair, like their pieces of their identity in their hair, something like that would be cool. Really picking apart the different symbols, like the paint drips and things. And then also like talking about how this could be like it is a diptych. It is two paintings put together as one artwork. You might say, well, if it was a triptych, if we were going to add a painting to the right of this, what might be in that? So if maybe the left one is the past and maybe the middle one is the present, maybe the third one is the future, they might have a completely different answer to that. I'm so personally tied to my own personal interpretation of this. That's what I see. So a lot of different ways you could take this. And then if you're exploring this for yourself, I think just, looking for the connection. So I'm going to do a separate video, maybe sometime in the next week, about a process that you can use to connect to these works of art. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a note to do that. That will work for all of these works of art. If you would like a kind of easy process to connect it to your own self. Another thing that you can do as a teacher to share this work of art with your students is to compare and contrast the work with Lorna Simpson. So I'm going to just open up a different share screen because I have it on my PowerPoint of this. And that was not the PowerPoint that I had open. Okay, so here's the artist name written out and the title. Again, this is at the Blanton Museum of Art in Austin, Texas. But here is some artwork by Lorna Simpson, and she has this whole series where she focuses on mainly Black women in their hair, although I have seen some other genders represented as well. But she does these beautiful watercolor paintings and collage work, and there were several times when I was looking up artworks to put on this slide where it talked about galaxies in relationship to the hair. So it was like galaxies of, it's been too long. What is this? See if I still have it open on my screen. No. Oh, here. Galaxies unto themselves. There was multiple use of the word galaxy. So that's a cool connection too with that space part of Ahuja's painting. So compare and contrast with Lorna Simpson, or just another way to explore another artist with a similar type of theme. Okay, I think that's it for today. I don't know if each of these videos will be quite as long as this one was, but since I had like a recent personal experience with this, I wanted to share it. And then of course I had the introduction stuff at the beginning. So that was our first work of art for the series. And I will be back tomorrow with another one. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.